teams that have won in North America, C9 and TSM.
We set a high standard for ourselves when we first came into the LCS. Dominated that season, went 25-3. Next season comes, we still dominate. We go 24-4. The legacy that we set up for ourselves is just a high standard of destroying the scene. If we can't keep doing that, then our legacy will die.
Cloud9 gonna end the series 3-0. The best team in North America. TSM goes the full 5 and takes down Cloud9.
Winning the trophy has always been TSM's legacy.
It's currently TSM's, and I really don't want them to keep it, you know?
We're always going for Worlds, so this is just a stepping stone for us.
No one really cares about second place, but I don't remember who took second. I know who took first. You have to go for first, and you have to take first.
If we're not number one, we're last.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the North American League Championship Series. We're coming to you live from the fan zone outside the studios here in Los Angeles, California. Here are our defending champions, Team SoloMid, making their way into the studio a short time ago. And we've got some devout fans showing their support. Here's one wearing his pride on his face. TSM will be facing off against Cloud9, who are taken in the fan zone on their way inside. Now they've got a throng of fans here as well, and the energy in the crowd is palpable, as you can hear. And well, ladies and gentlemen, it all comes down to this. After 4 months and over 100 games, 2 teams are left standing and will take to the Rift to battle for the title of champions. Hello everyone, I'm James Dash Patterson, and joining me on the analyst desk today in the fan zone are Aiden Zyrene Moon and David Freak Turley. Guys, there is so much energy out here right now. How pumped are you for this series?
Man, this is awesome being outside. We need to do this more often.
I know, right? We got some sunshine. We've got beautiful fans out here supporting their teams. What could be better for a day of League of Legends? Well, let's get started. And to track how these teams got here, we're going to pull up the playoff bracket. Cloud9 successfully fought back from a 2-game deficit in the semifinals to defeat Team Liquid. For Team SoloMid, they were able to fend off Team Impulse 3-1 and lock in their 5th consecutive finals appearance. In addition to Honor and Glory, both of these teams are going to be looking to grab themselves 90 championship points that they will carry with them into the summer split. The extra 20 points will be a big advantage as teams battle for a spot at Worlds, and it could mean the difference between booking a trip to compete on the international stage or watching from home. Now, today's finals is the latest in a growing rivalry between Team SoloMid and Cloud9. It's one that the fans enjoy watching, and once again, it will dictate who's the top dog in the NALCS.
Yeah, and Cloud9, they've had a rough season, and their playoffs haven't been that smooth either. They're really relying on their leadership and their ability to bounce back, as well as their individual skill. If you look at the Cloud9 roster, they're not a one-dimensional team. Everybody on that roster has carry potential. We've seen Sneaky Bin the Rock. We've seen Lemonation invade and completely tilt the game. Meteos on top of his game. High can run away with it too. And then Balls in the top lane, he can just utterly destroy an enemy team.
Yeah, rough by C9 standards. We have to remember that they're still the 2nd seed going into playoffs,
Yeah.
but for all intents and purposes, Cloud9 generally expects to do a bit better.
Yeah, Cloud9 expects to do pretty well here, and I think the one player to watch for, because I think his performance can be incredibly varied here, is Balls in the top lane. In the semifinals, they first picked him Hecarim on every single blue side games, game 1, 3, and 5, and seeing Balls on aggressive top laners like this is really big for C9. The rotational game is very smart. We've seen them play so many games from behind where like high split pushes and they like hold on for a really long time. An open map is what C9 thrives off of, and allowing Balls to be a person to create an open map is a really big point for them.
And that's the first time we've seen him in the competitive environment on Hecarim.
Right.
And having a performance like that right out of the gate is really strong for C9 and shows that their practice is definitely worth the time.
And then on the flip side, someone that has been having a big impact for Team SoloMid is their newest member, Santorin.
This is Santorin's first split in the LCS, and right out of the gate at IEM San Jose, he choked a little bit. But since then, we've seen him grow to be the rookie of the split because he was on the international stage, IEM Katowice world stage there. Did an amazing job, and he's versatile. He plays carry junglers, he plays tank junglers, and he's actually ahead of the curve. He normally can figure out what's good before people are playing it and pick it up and be adept at it.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I want to watch Santorin especially to see where he goes, not only what he's playing, because TSM, I know we talk about Bjergsen a whole lot, but Wild Turtle this split has been, to me, the most impressive player. He's the most improved, I think, out of TSM. He's been incredibly impressive for the team overall. To me, he's the number 280 carry in NA behind Sneaky here. And Wild Turtle's making a name for himself here. He's the other big carry for SoloMid. And if he gets ahead, as opposed to Bjergsen getting ahead, they can use him to carry the game as well. So I want to see if Santorin, who he chooses to camp for, and also where the carries go for TSM.
Now, what's so interesting for me about this matchup is the fact that there are so many players on each team that can be the reason why either team wins. And that includes and extends so far as their coaches. So to give us an insider's perspective on this match, we're going to send it over to Riv, who's joined by the coaches of our two combatants.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. As you can see, we are in the very amped up fan zone here, right in the middle of all the action. And I do have Loco Doco and Charlie as they are about to embark with their teams on the North American Spring Split Finals. Gentlemen, it's been a long road, 18 games plus a few for some of you guys. Now, looking at this game, Loco Doco, just to gauge and get the mentality of how you guys are coming into this match, arguably the best split the team SoloMid has had coming into the North American LCS. How are you guys keeping the guys focused coming into the games today?
Well, we know we had a really great season, but it wouldn't mean anything if we didn't get to make playoffs, or if we didn't win playoffs and go to MSI. So everyone knows, like, all the hard work we put in, like, we just need one more day of really hard work and showing up, and then it'll all be worth it. So yeah, just telling them what's up and that it's right in front of us and we can't stop sprinting yet.
All right, Charlie, same question, but a little bit of the flip side. This has somewhat been the roughest split that Cloud9 has seen after being a team to really just trample through the LCS repeatedly season after season. Now going up against Team SoloMid again in the finals, what are you doing to get the team prepared?
We're been practicing really hard. Even though we had a lot of ups and downs this split, in the end, we're only one game away from first place in the end. So we're really ready for today, and we're looking to take our first place back.
Looking at how the season has gone, do you guys feel that you are the underdog coming into the match today, Charlie?
No. We've been in the finals before at TSM, and we're ready.
All right, guys, this is a question for both of you now, kind of to the other team. Who do you think is going to be the impact player here for Cloud9, and who are you looking for?
Well, I think it's really, really low chance, but if Cloud9 does win, it's going to be from Hai. Hai has always stepped up when it matters. When the pressure is on him, everyone counts Hai out, like Hai is gone. But the times when it really counts, I feel like Hai puts into practice, Hai picks up the right champions, and then he shows up. It won't be today, it's not likely, but if it happens, it'll be Hai.
All right, Charlie, you heard what Loco had to say. What are your feelings?
I'm going to make you eat your words, Loco. And I think that for TSM side, Darius is going to step up today. He's a veteran player. He has a lot of experience, so that's what I'll be looking for.
All right, guys, and obviously to build a little more hype around this, the rivalry has become real. I think we know TSM and Cloud9 now at the top of the list for North America. How do you feel that the fans kind of play on this rivalry, and do you think it builds it even stronger?
Well, to be honest, like, us and C9 are really friendly. Me and Charlie get along really well. Jack and Andy and all our players get along really well. So it's a bit of a friendly rivalry, but we all know, like, only one team can be first, and only one team can truly be the kings of NA. Like, we'll cheer each other on whenever each other's playing CLG, but it's an actual rivalry, and the fans play really into it too. I mean, whoever wins gets a lot of fans, and we don't want to disappoint our fans either.
Charlie, a few words.
I mean, it doesn't matter how friendly we are off the Rift, but when the game day comes, they're the enemy, and we're going to beat them.
All right, business is business, and that's how these guys are approaching the game. Loco, Charlie, thank you very much, and best of luck to both of your teams as you guys approach the finals here. Right now, we have a lot of games to go over, and we need some gentlemen to break it down, so we're going to throw it back to the guys at the desk.
Thank you, Riv. Now we want to ping you guys on Twitter once again, and we're looking to see how you're enjoying Championship Weekend. So remember, send your pictures to @LawLeeSports and use the hashtag LCS so we can highlight a few of them a little later on. All right, but now it's that time where we have to let you guys know about another huge event that's happening on the horizon. We've got the Mid-Season Invitational coming up, where we bring the top teams from around the world together in Tallahassee, Florida, and tickets are still available. So head over to lawleesports.com and click on the tickets link for the lowdown on how you can snag a spot for all of the action. But first, we've got all the action-packed stuff here today, and the every fan here has an opinion on who's going to win. I mean, you've heard it throughout the entire segment here, and they all think that one or the other is going to be victorious, and they're pretty confident with it.
It's Cloud9 versus TSM.
Let's say 4-kill fight. TSM, crush it. TSM. Cloud9 dive in. 1 kills, 2 kills, 3 kills, 4.
Cloud9, Cloud9, Cloud9.
Cloud9! The thing that sold me as a C9 fan was when they were playing TSM in the first game of the spring split last year when I busted out Teemo mid, it just made me love the team so much.
Meteos Cloud9, yes! I love that he takes over games. It's really fun.
Like, what's wrong with C9? Nothing's wrong. They're just good players. They give quality games. I keep saying they're like the Yankees of LCS.
What makes me a TSM fan is their personalities. Love scene is amazing. I did not expect like super quiet, seemingly pretty well-mannered person, and out of nowhere just love scene is coming out of it. It was amazing.
TSM has very subtle confidence. They're not overt about it.
I gotta go with TSM.
I think High versus Bjergsen will definitely decide which way it goes.
Bjergsen's a powerhouse, there's no doubt about that, but High can hold his own. It all depends on the champion matchup.
If Bjergsen gets an inch on him, he's going to take a mile. So I'll be cheering my best for High to withstand that onslaught.
I think Darius will probably, if he feeds, they win. So hopefully he feeds and then they'll win.
My favorite moment was when Wild Turtle, he got a quadra kill on Tristana.
It was last season's championship game.
Saw the Orianna ult into the entire front line, and I was heartbroken because I thought the game was over at that very second. Then Turtle goes and just starts dealing damages, hopping back and forth across the walls. Tristana is beautiful.
Turtle on the triple, Turtle on the quadra, a second quadra in the playoffs for Turtle.
I was so hyped. Stood up out of my chair when I was at home, and it was amazing.
Cloud9 is going to pull it off either with a base race or it's going to be a clear, decisive win.
They're going to go 3-2, and it's going to be great games, and they're going to crush TSM.
C9's pretty good, so I'm going to guess it's going to go 5th game. TSM's going to win it, though, definitely.
I gotta go with TSM.
C9's time to shine. It better be C9. It's gotta be C9. It has to be C9.
Well, we got to hear from the fans. Gentlemen, now it's your time to throw in your predictions. So I'm going to start with you, Zyrene. Who are you going with?
I'm going with a team that I voted against twice, and I was wrong both times. Santorin told me they were going to bring it home. I didn't believe him, but I have to go with defending North American champions, Team SoloMid.
All right, that's a pretty strong endorsement there from Zyrene. Freak, what about you?
Well, Zyrene, as we know, we talk a lot. I don't respect your opinion very much, but every once in a while a blind squirrel finds a nut. I agree with you. Team SoloMid, I got the sideways hat going on. So I can look cooler by doing it. I think they're the favorites.
It looks good. It's a good look for you, Freak.
I'm going to keep it.
Well, of course, to preserve the virtues of journalistic integrity, I will not be throwing a vote in. So it looks like, maybe TSM has the way on the desk here. And, God damn, you know what? Is the sun bothering you guys? Because it bothers me quite a bit. Just a little bit of a squinting issue.
Yeah.
But now we're good, so let's compare that to how the fans are voting on lolesports.com, where 71% say TSM are going to be the king of the hill for yet another split. All right, looks like I'm outweighed here on the desk. The fans are overwhelmingly in favor of TSM. We'll see if Cloud9 can fight back. We're all fired up out here, so let's throw it over to the casters to get this championship showdown underway.
Thank you very much, Dash. Hello, everyone. I am Rivington Bislin III, and manning the caster desk with me is going to be Joshua Chat Leesman for hopefully all 5 games.
I hope so. I mean, that's what happened last time Cloud9 and TSM met in the finals. That was in Seattle last year in the summer.
Yep.
And now we have another 3-2 coming down.
Oh, God, it just keeps repeating. I like it. History repeats itself, and this is going to be a good one. We're jumping into Game 1 of Team SoloMid versus Cloud9 for the 4th consecutive split in a row. Our finals come down to these 2 teams, and as always, it's going to be a dogfight.
And both Cloud9 and TSM have been incredibly resilient, and they show that they improve during a best-of-5 because they make good mid-series adaptations. Also, it proves that TSM and Cloud9 are not very prone to going on tilt. In the semifinals, both these guys started their series with a pretty decisive loss.
Yeah,
For Cloud9,
that's true.
they actually lost their first 2 games, and yet in both of those semifinals games, Cloud9 and TSM, they kept their heads, and they fought back for wins.
Something they've been able to do throughout a lot of these seasons, or splits, if you will. These organizations are regular practice partners, if you didn't know, which actually led to the players growing very close, as you can actually hear Charlo and Loco say it just in the interview. TSM players were tweeting messages of support for Cloud9 after their rough semifinal start against Team Liquid. Bjergsen did not want to see Cloud9 lose to Team Liquid because he wanted to beat them.
I mean, that's a pretty good reason to want to get to the finals. And historically, the matchup has heavily favored Cloud9. We've seen that. But since the start of the 2014 summer split, it's actually swung back the other way, and TSM have a 1-game lead in this overall matchup.
Yeah.
And, you know, we talk about it all the time, but TSM's biggest strength will continue to be Bjergsen. He reclaimed the MVP title this split and has been a dominating force and should continue to be a dominating force in the mid lane. I mean, looking at this up against Hai, I think this is the critical matchup of this series. Pretty much every statistical category that doesn't have to do with wards and vision control, Bjergsen beats out Hai.
It's crazy, and you hear Loco Doco just saying as well, we're really worried about Hai. He can pull things out when it matters, and maybe it's kind of like hitting, 75, 80s on the test, and then you just ace the exam.
As soon as Hai starts doing well, Cloud9 just takes off.
That's right.
So it could happen.
It could happen indeed. Dyrus is sanguine about the prospect of losing games early in the series and says it only fuels TSM to come out stronger in the next round.
Even as veteran as TSM is, we always lose the first game because I feel like we don't play our best from the very, very start. And when we get upset that we lost the first game that we shouldn't have and the game is so much easier than we thought it was going to be, we take that motivation and go on to the second game. And if we don't win that, then we take it to the third game.
We got to see it at least in Team Impulse series. Even Loco Doco thought they would lose the first game of that series against Team Impulse and then win the next 3. Reginald, I ran into him in the hallway. He wanted my prediction on the series. I said 60-40 for TSM because they are a slight favorite here.
Right.
Then I asked him, and he's like, we'll lose the first game, win the next 3. So, I mean, they're pretty...
It's always the way.
They're pretty resilient if they think they're going to lose.
It's in all sports. You watch the first few pitches, you calibrate, and then you take the swing. That's all you got to wait for. Right now, we're going to get in the game, though. Let's check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it's Team SoloMid. Dyrus in the top lane. Santorin in the jungle. Bjergsen in mid. Wild Turtle at AD carry. And Lustboy at support.
That is TSM with the chance. But on the red side, it's going to be Cloud9. Balls in the top lane, some big-time Hecarim plays in the semifinals, Meteos in the jungle, Hai in mid lane, and then Sneaky and Lemon Nation laning together like always.
That's something that kept coming up to me in my notes when I was looking at these teams is you go to Ball's champion pool and you look at Dyrus's champion pool, and there's a lot of that Scion, that Maokai, and the Lulu, and then Ball's always gets the Hecarim ban, but he's getting the things that'll carry. Another threat in the game that's not going to be utility, and he can actually take that lane on his own if he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that we have to keep in mind as well on this 5.6 patch that we've been on the entire playoffs is taking the champion pools from those semifinal matchups is very important. Cloud9 and TSM scrimmed heavily against each other in preparation of each of their own semifinal matchups, and what they played there is most of what we're going to be seeing in the finals. Add in a few picks they picked up in the week since, knowing that they are facing each other in the finals.
Well, Rumble and Thresh are going to be the ones banned out here with that support ban. I have heard TSM go back and forth between Thresh and Janna, so we may see that getting picked up in some kind of safe composition for them. And right now, the homework seems to be done quite well, taking away priority picks while still getting a few flex in there as well. That Vladimir is a good ban out for the Cloud9 side.
Yeah, it's interesting. It feels like they're fearful of either the top lane or mid lane Vladimir, despite Cloud9 not playing any of it in the semifinals. But it is, honestly, in my opinion, one of the best picks on this patch, especially if Team SoloMid wants to run a lane tank for Dyrus, which is what they did in the last 2 games in the semifinals, where Dyrus played Maokai and Scion in games 3 and 4 against Team Impulse.
Well, something that TSM kind of faced with a ban towards them like that, Impulse rather, banned that Cassiopeia. They were a little confused because they didn't play the Cass. It's kind of the same idea with the Vladimir not being played by Cloud9, but it's still something that they fear. That Janna actually gets banned out too, so Lustboy gets hit with 2 along with Dyrus's.
They're targeting, surprisingly, Lustboy's support champion pool. We know Lustboy is a very good disengaged support, But with the Nautilus ban being thrown at Lemonation, that was actually Lustboy's third support. So they're now pushing Lustboy down to number 4. And those target bans at support also suggest that Lemonation may have been working on something special. He is usually the first one in North America to pull out supports. And we were talking a little bit about a potential support Kennen, which maybe we'd see from Lemonation now that all these supports are banned out.
Yeah, it hasn't really made its way over here just yet. But it would be awesome if Sneaky could also pull out that Callista combo. Gragas gets taken away, something Meteos and Santorin have both been using to great effect throughout the last few weeks of the split. And you would see that in EU huge as well.
I feel like Meteos will match the Gragas with the Sejuani pick eventually. I don't know when it will happen in this draft. I'm not sure which jungler Meteos actually values higher. He's a bit of a troll when you talk to him. I was trying to ask him about it, and he asked me, which jungler do you think is better? I said, I think Gragas wins. He smiled and said, we'll see about that.
We'll see about that. Well, I like the fact that both teams are like, the junglers are going to play something that's going to be good anyways, so let's ban out other lanes, and the junglers can get to pick what they want. No jungle bans here, so that Gragas goes over, and we see Cloud9 now with the Maokai and the Urgot to come out.
That Urgot's very intriguing because it can go in either the mid lane or the bottom lane. It flexes like that. Wild Turtle also had a really bad time in laning phase against Urgot when Apollo played it in the semifinals. It also opens up the possibility for Cloud9 to build a heavily tanky team, which would diminish Bjergsen's effectiveness if he picks an assassin. It's actually very, very potent from a champ select and versatility perspective to have Urgot locked in that early.
Well, Dyrus is saying, yep, beyond Lulu once again. Let's do it. Keep safe in the top lane and the Kog'Maw. They literally are sticking to their guns if they pick the Kog'Maw here. Within the video they just released, they said if we ever get that composition again and we have a Lulu, just pick the Kog'Maw. It'd be crazy if they actually just stick with that.
They do have some protection stuff ready to go with it.
Nami too.
They almost, oftentimes, I say a team is best served by just locking in the champions immediately, but I think it was a little bit of a mind game there, hovering the Kog'Maw, saying, you guys don't want to pick all tanks, we'll just pick Kog'Maw. We're going to do it. We're crazy. But honestly, Lustboy being pushed down to his 4th support, Nami, is a throwback actually more to last split, where he played a lot of Nami. And it is also good disengage against a tank team, which Cloud9 is building up real fast.
World of Tanks team. Look at this. Sejuani and Braum as well. So they're bringing the ice with the last 2 picks there. Going to be a great fight composition from Cloud9, something they have a forte in.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Now the question will be, how does TSM counter this? You know, Vladimir is already banned away. He's good against a lot of tank tops. You want to be able to build something that does sustained damage, AoE damage, or shredding damage against a tank. Orianna Kog'Maw is pretty good, but it makes them have one source of threat. Ziggs in an 80 carry would punish their grouping aspect. That's something that Cloud9's team is going to do. It's going to group heavily. So therefore, Ziggs and Jinx right there, that's a lot of AoE damage that can maybe punish a tank ball.
You were correct that Turtle had a hard time against that Urgot, but once they got out of lane, he was definitely racking up the kills with a Jinx. So he will once again pick that Jinx. We'll see if this is actually Sneaky's, though.
I like the Ziggs a lot more compositionally, but in order for Bjergsen to be on a playmaker who can roam and impact lanes, Ahri is his style of pick. That's more of a pick that is just saying he is going to beat high and be able to impact other lanes. Not as much about the team fights, because if Bjergsen can win the lane, then he will have the impact in those team fights.
Well, hopefully they can get a little bit of wave clear for Cloud9 in this last pick. Not a whole lot represented by this tank lineup that they're bringing to the table just yet. They can sure fight a good fight, though.
Well, now we'll get to see whether they pick an 80 carry or a mid laner, which will define Cloud9's team composition. We've been wondering what high breaks out. What if they did a Corki mid here and then threw Urgot in the bottom lane? Corki was High's best pick pretty much in the
say that is still left up.
Or just speed for the Tonks.
So there's their wave clear.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I can't wait to see High's Urgot here against Ahri. That's maybe what's going to make or break this game here, because if High can prevent Bjergsen from roaming, the tank ball in teamfights could be overwhelming from Cloud9 since they get the Sivir speed behind it. But looking at TSM's team composition, it's a lot of comfort champions or old comfort champions. Recent comfort with the Gragas on Santorin, and old school comfort with Lustboy on Nami. We'll see how practiced he's kept that with all the other supports he's been.
Bjergsen as well, tipping back to Ari on this one's going to be very nice for him. A super comfortable laning phase in that one if he can stay away from those charges.
Yeah.
We have not really seen High on this Urgot. Loco said it's up to him on Cloud9's side to be the one to pull out all the stops, the new champions, and do that. It was funny listening to Bjergsen because he's worried about Meteos and Santorin. He thinks they'll have the biggest matchup. So everybody's got their mind set on somebody else who's going to do well in this match, which means I think we'll get a good game from everyone, Jad.
Yeah, and we know with these guys, the game one, while it is important in the overall context of the series, does not decide the series in any way. A lot of times they're champion pool testing in these first games, and things will change drastically afterwards. But honestly, those are some pretty cool team compositions for game one.
Let's see what happens. We've had best of fives for a last 6 or 7 series?
Both the semifinal series in Europe were best of 5. The third place matches were all best of 5. The first finals was best of 5.
So the teams are loading onto the Rift. Let's see if we can get another one. Let us know how you think the series is going to play out. Tweet hashtag TSM win or hashtag C9 win to @LOL Esports. And as always, we'll be checking those throughout the game and see how you are voting. The crowd is ready. All the lights lighting up, the thunder sticks being clapped. The crowd outside is ready as well. We are on to the Rift for game 1 of the 2015 North American Spring Split Finals.
I think it's safe to say everyone is ready for this one, Riv.
Man, I wonder if it separated TSM inside and Cloud9 outside.
No, I think that's just all TSM fans.
I didn't really hear any chance.
There are a lot of Cloud9 fans, but there are many more TSM fans.
Indeed.
As we have learned.
Woo. Just got to get it calibrated. And figure out where everything is. Scope was off a little bit. So the early wards aren't getting too deep here. Santorin's obviously able to just brute that one in. I'll give Meteos a little. Oh, it should be down before he goes for his Raptors, rather. So nothing big coming from anybody in the early game. Turtle's going to sit towards the top lane, and it does not look like going to get the 2v2 matchup.
Yeah. One of the nice deeper wards, though, that was placed there by Santorin was actually trying to stop Maokai from stacking saplings and taking the Raptor camp.
Oh.
Somewhat risky ward to get in there, but the fact that he has done so will deny balls a little bit.
We're talking about balls being on the Hecarim and being on something they can carry to the Maokai this time. Still do a sufficient amount of damage.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't get to play it that much, the Maokai that is, only 2 times in the semifinals, but throughout the ending of the regular season, the Maokai was the pick for Cloud9 to lock in with their very first choice. The fact that they were able to just kind of get it this time without having to put a huge priority on it, you know, first pick Gragas being over on the other side, is rather valuable. Lustboy trying to do some Nautilus things on Nami.
Still working with water.
Not the same.
Not a problem.
I think.
Just being smooth. I don't think he's going to get too far in this one. Just knowledge of what Cloud9 is doing and at what speed. Elimination's going to try to do a little bit of his own scouting here as he heads down towards the bottom side of the map. It looks like they are out already. He doesn't even get
You can tell these guys practiced a lot against each other because they got the same ideas with what to do in these lane swaps. Honestly, TSM wins out on that a little bit. Basically, Lemonation's invade was later, and even though he stole one tiny little Raptor, the camp itself wasn't stopped. Whereas for Cloud9 here, they forewent doing the Raptors and ran straight to the other side of their jungle. Therefore, it's actually the TSM duo jungle here of Darius and Santorin that are ahead on experience.
Scuttle, given over to Meteos. Play that well. Looks like he might get a ward over the wall here, and they are going to quickly get this. Lemonation's ward towards Red, definitely giving them a little bit of help to make sure nobody else comes in. And 3 wards with the Scuttle Crab is all they need.
With a level 1 support, too. So really low experience values here early from Cloud9. There will be more experience, substantially more experience on the side of TSM. And for a Dragon, they get first shot at ganking high here. Gragas Flash E is one of the most lethal ganking tools. Ooh! So that's one way to stop it. Is if High... That's all credit to High there, actually, for avoiding that gank. Because Odd One is watching as well.
Oh, yeah.
But because he knows that the Gragas gank early game, if he flash E body slams you for the stun, it's almost a guaranteed death because Bjergsen would charm him for sure. And when Santorin was body slamming in, he wouldn't have been in range unless he flashed, but High respected it, flashed anyway, was able to get it alive. Hey!
1-2 miss there. Dyrus is going to be able to head a bit of a split in the uprights on that one, and TSM looks like they can get out safely. They have to be careful what's really happening here, though. Can they get out in time? They're still going to try to take down Dyrus. The Ignite is on. The Ignite is ticking. Is it too little? And he stays alive with the potion just chugged at the right time.
If not for the 3-man bubble from Lustboy, which he flashed in for, Dyrus was dead for sure. So Lustboy supporting everybody but Wild Turtle early on in this game.
Yeah, Lustboy doesn't even need training wheels back to these champions. He's just straight off and running. No mistakes, all plays right out of the gate for him. A nice hit by Bjergsen. He needed that 5-4 in this lane, not too far behind, but he's been taking those corrosive charges a little too much. And High has that upper hand. 34-25 in the mid lane right now. So Turtle freezing away in this top lane. Shouldn't really see any trouble for quite amount of time in the game here. So he should be big for TSM come mid late game.
And someone who is not very big right now for Cloud9 is actually Balls. Level 2 on Maokai. Everything has gone against his farming early on in the game, which typically does not work out for Cloud9 when they need him as an initiation threat. Think about the very early jungle. Lustboy pushed him off of the Raptor camp. He couldn't share that. The first experience Balls actually got was sharing the wolves on the other side of the jungle. Then he never even got lane experience because the dive was shut down. He never got kill or assist gold. And now he's set up in a lane against Lustboy and a level 5 Jinx. There is no way he gets meaningful farm in the next few minutes.
TSM getting everything to fall into place accordingly, and that ward early from Santorin towards Raptors was a pretty big catalyst to make all of this come to be. Cloud9 still clearing together towards this top side. Ball's trying to keep himself somewhere in experience range to be able to help in this game. Santorin now is by himself. It's definitely going to start to catapult him ahead a little bit more.
That first pick Gragas, and Santorin, he played it in all 3 of TSM's victories in the semifinals against Impulse and shut down Rush, who had been a jungler who was on complete fire for the last half of the split as well as the series against Gravity. Santorin exhibits a large amount of control on the map on Gragas, both from just his clearing, but mainly his gank potential and his consistency as a player. All coming in huge on the jungle Gragas.
Yep. We really haven't seen too many woes with these teams. Santorin's kind of the biggest woe right as IEM hit before the season started was really all that TSM had to work on. People thought that he might kind of just be in the back pocket of Bjergsen all the time. Santorin won't be something TSM needs to grow, but I think he grew a little bit faster than everybody thought he could.
Yeah, an unfortunate tech issue. High spilled his drink on the keyboard, so classic mistake for the home game.
Urgot is so sloppy. God. Just get control of yourself.
Yeah. Prompting this pause.
Not a problem.
That's unfortunate. Really.
At least it's not kind of like an emotional thing. You're just like, oh, man, now I'm really in for it. It's just kind of like, whoops, we're good.
It's actually surprising that this hasn't happened before. I mean, think of all the LCS games we've had.
Well, we took the banana away from Lemon Nation before anything could happen last time, so. See, he's still getting support.
Make sure everything still works. Maybe they'll get him a replacement keyboard. We shall see. But honestly,
are getting a replacement, yes. But yeah, we were talking about Santorin and how he has been helping the team. But looking at these teams, 2 of the only teams who saw 0 subs or changes throughout the split. So it's kind of no real surprise that they are the top 2 fighting for the finals.
Yeah, Cloud9 no supports or subs in LCS play for 2 years now.
Yeah.
TSM, if they do a supporter substitution, it usually works out for them. Finding Santorin, and it wasn't always like this. Like this TSM team is actually somewhat battle tested at this point, because if we do think back, not the IEM they won in Katowice, but the IEM they didn't win in San Jose before the LCS split happened. Things weren't looking that great. Bjergsen was killed multiple times by Power of Evil.
Right, this new guy.
Bjergsen had lost it. They said Santorin was out jungled. He wasn't going to be able to do anything. Then they come into the LCS season and they pick right up after. They win IEM Katowice against Team WA in the final.
To be honest, all of that did happen to now the 2nd place team in Europe. So
yeah, I know. And
Unicorns of Love
proved to be pretty good.
Yeah, Unicorns of Love definitely came out strong. So they were showing what they had. and TSM just wasn't ready. But as we've said before, they do pride themselves on being able to fix these situations and come out on top.
Yeah, and now we come back
There we go.
into high. He has to lane against the MVP Bjergsen here. It's been a pretty poor split for Cloud9, all things considered, but again, they find themselves sitting in the final. We look back, regular season, week 1 even, they were last place in the LCS. They're the only team to go 0-2 in week 1. Fighting back from that, they had to continually climb up the standings. They only got their bye in the last week of the regular season by beating the top 2 teams in the LCS consecutively. They got that seed. Then, in the semifinals, they were down 0-2. They were already thinking about how to pick up the pieces, how to recover this Cloud9 brand, how to reassert their dominance. But they actually haven't lost it yet. They've been closer than ever to looking mortal and not the dominant team in the North American LCS. And now they spill drinks on their keyboard.
Yep.
So
just right when they were on the cusp of reaching the pinnacle once again. It's different to look at, though. The way they surged through the split is almost scary if I were them in the first split. Hey, they beat it so well. You almost can't quantify how that was, why that was. Was it just because teams weren't ready? Were they always getting the better picks? Was it in Champion Select? What was that Pandora's box, and can you find it again? Because that is the real question, right? Where did that Cloud9 go? Or did everybody just get amped up and better because they were good and they raised the competition?
Trying to recapture the dominance of their 25-3 split they had when they entered the LCS. I don't know if we'll ever see another North American team as dominant as Cloud9 was. Because honestly, the scene has grown so much since then. We look at the successful brands in North America now, and it's the teams with the coaching staffs and the experience and the top talent they've been able to recruit. And that's what ends up in the finals here. Cloud9 with the experience, TSM with both. And now we're back in. High's replacement got his keyboard.
Yes, he did. I was always a big proponent of fresh blood in a scene, being able to do very well, wanting it more, going even harder. Not that it has fizzled out for these teams. The veteran status is now what brings them to this level and caliber of play. A lot has been dodged out by Fancy Feet High, but even with 4 legs, he can't tiptoe out of that one. High goes down for first blood in the mid lane after a rinse and repeat follow-up after they blew his flash.
Ruthless right there, right after the pause. Now, teams cannot communicate during tech delay pauses like that, so that wasn't something TSM hatched up. That is something they were able to execute as soon as we get back into the game, and it punishes High heavily. Bjergsen with first blood is never a good thing for the enemy team.
Never a good thing. He also doesn't really have to just throw anything towards magic resistance right away, so he can go ahead and build ability power and be even more of a menace here if he wants to start to get the roam on. Waiting for that 6 on Santorin still until we get another big gank from him. But everybody on TSM happy with how that went, and really not looking to push it too hard. We're going to get this top lane with a bit of damage. Actually, going to let the wave just clear out. We might even get the rotate to bottom.
Yeah, Mita's going to try and pick up that free farm. It's, again, unfortunate that this isn't going to the Maokai, who is being more and more denied. Overall CS, 10 CS and level 4 on the Maokai, as the TSM vote is still 2-1, basically. And for good reason. TSM playing this early game quite well. Experience leads throughout. Even the first blood gave him the gold lead. The Dragon was given up for that experience, for the most part. Now, BF swords on both AD carries as well, who have been farming at a pretty reasonable clip since they're not laning against anyone.
Safe days for them. Wild Turtle is happy to do that. And without Sneaky really being on that Lucian, we usually see him take a back seat as well. Looking at that lane now, a nice bit of trade damage going over to Lustboy, but they have all the mana in the world to stay in this lane, and with 30 seconds here, I'm sure one of them would love to get that damage trade in their favor to make Dragon a little bit easier. Rotation already towards the bottom side from Santorin, but he is warded out nicely by, I believe, Lemonation's work down there. Slowly coming in for the gank. Another spot out here. They've already got the pings. They are pretty much ready. Meteos is top lane, though, so they may still try to go for this bottom side, knowing the aggression is there and they could be safe for the dive.
Whoa, Dyrus, that was unnecessary, man. Dyrus blows his ultimate.
Maybe the length of the chase scared him too much?
Yeah, he's like, he's going to have backup if he's being this crazy.
You can't see High in mid lane. Yeah. Ari had moved away. Interesting. Something they may be able to use here. Good timing to happen at Dragon.
Because of the length of the steal, though, TSM able to steal the blue buff as well as prop up his Dragon take. So while Dyrus' ultimate was unnecessary, Meteos' chase was even more unnecessary. I think Meteos was tunneling a little bit on giving Balls space to farm by getting Dyrus out of there, but it did cost them pretty heavily there, losing blue buff to the enemy mid laner as well as the Dragon.
Everything happened in a matter of seconds. You think it's going one way, then the other. TSM makes a good move for Dragon, and with the kill, now a Dragon in the lead. It's giving them 600 gold. Staying out of the way of elimination here. Both supports about to hit 6 in that bottom lane. Things could start to get crazy. Junglers are hovering that bottom side of the map, and already have had a bit of hand in the first bloods we've seen, Santorin being in that mid lane.
And both Santorin and Meteos have game-changing ultimates on these junglers, something they actually used awesomely in the semifinals. Santorin's Gragas assaults were perfect, and when Meteos was on Gragas, he was landing great ultimates as well. We've seen Sejuani completely swing team fights before as well, and it will be incredibly important where those ultimates are used and if they can give each team an advantage, because right now, when TSM has that small lead, they're so good at stretching it out.
Yeah.
So unless Cloud9 makes a play with the Sejuani ultimate that is not counter-ganked by Santorin, they may die a slow death to Bjergsen's Arc.
That's one thing you get out of Bjergsen over and over again, is a reassuring voice. If we keep doing that, it's something we'll be able to get. Just keep poking, keep ganking mid, and TSM is able to stay on that kind of course and not divert from it. Really is something that keeps them in the game and allows the lead to grow ever so slowly. Raptor buff taking out the bottom ward. It also delays Sneaky's back here, so they may be able to get a little bit of action on this turret.
It may cost them a lot of this turret. The turret no longer has that extra resistance because we're 11 minutes into the game. And also, Elimination had to back away early. All this pressure that Meteos is throwing up in the top lane is being really easily countered and outplayed by TSM.
We've seen games where Balls gets focused like this, pushed out, very under-leveled. Now he's got himself back up to leveled, but too many resources have been put back into that for it to work.
TSM outplayed slightly in the early game, which put Balls in a hole. And instead of just leaving Balls on his own, Cloud9 is putting so many resources into making sure he is a person in the late game, instead of just like a baby sapling tree. So with that,
not many rings.
Instead of TSM putting resources into keeping him down more and more, TSM just putting resources into giving everyone else an edge. By the time Balls matches up with Dyrus, which he kind of is now, maybe all the other lanes for TSM will be ahead, which is the TSM game plan. Get the other 4 people ahead, let Dyrus fend for himself and go even.
Yeah, always. TSM's plan, Dyrus fend for himself, indeed. And with these turrets dropping now, as we see the first one go down just a bit ago for Wild Turtle, Jinx can start approaching these turrets faster. It's going to be even a bigger surge in gold, and those turrets are going to fall down real quick. Bjergsen backing on a ward. Don't think Cloud9's going to be able to work off of any of this. They're all kind of in their own backing position themselves. So, didn't expect this slow of a first game, but both teams are definitely giving each other a lot of respect.
Yeah, they are definitely just taking it slow, not trying to take too many risks. These teams they're very different than Unicorns of Love and Fnatic, strategically, to put it in some finite terms. Honestly, these guys just don't fight as much as Fnatic Unicorns of Love do. They have heavy vision games that evolve around each other. Cloud9 actually won a lot of games in the middle of the season with incredibly low kill counts.
That's very true.
has been known to play that way as well. When the team fights break out, they will be explosive, but don't expect them to just happen out of thin air.
Going to be difficult. Balls just on charging up that Rod of Ages, but Catalyst giving him a little bit of HP. It looks like maybe needed in what could be this 4v2 fight in the top lane. 2 in the mid here, Bjergsen, or rather High and Elimination are hanging out there as Bjergsen started to rotate, but he pulls it back. They could still get Balls off of this chase. Bubble hits, but it doesn't seem like they took the steps to actually take him down. Oh, hello.
Yeah. Cloud9's got to try and make a play here.
It's on Dyrus. That ultimate is still up for him. He can get the wild growth on. I don't think it's going to be enough as a Winter's Bite and Conclusive Blows just equal out to the stun. And Dyrus goes down. So Cloud9 get a trade on the bottom side for a turret, but they've lost another one up top as well.
Good job right there for Cloud9 to get aggressive right as the turret was falling. Dyrus needed to fall away from that turret to not be at risk for that engage. But now that 2 big ultimates have been blown by Cloud9, TSM looking to maintain the pressure in the mid lane. Every time you put something into Dyrus, TSM will take from you something else.
Oh, always. And they take it quite textbook here in the mid. Another flash needed to be blown, this time on the side of Cloud9 as the 3rd outer turret falls. That was quite quick once they got the bottom one. And that's going to put quite a bit of money over onto Bjergsen and Wild Turtle. Both of them has 1,000, and Santorin just hit that as well. So burning a hole in their pockets, they decide to stay on the map for a little bit longer, get the vision they need to make sure Dragon is all covered.
Yeah. Nice play overall there by TSM. Not being dissuaded by Meteos' Sejuani ultimate because they knew there wasn't follow-up there.
Right.
High still stacking up. Just got his Manamune. Merman is going to be a good distance away. Let's double check that. It's at 391 of 750, so it's not stacking incredibly quickly.
Right.
Rod of Ages still not completed on Balls' Maokai. Not going for the Righteous Glory, so trying to get a little bit more damage in
good
there.
thing you just got that done.
Relying on the Sejuani ultimate instead of the Righteous Glory initiation. Maybe a Righteous Glory from Lemon Nation. Cloud9 is trying to bide their time, but they're honestly in catch-up mode. They have been for a while, and it's very hard to catch up to a team like TSM who is so apt at trading and trading successfully.
Yeah, they'll play around you. They know exactly what to do to make sure they get it their way. Second Dragon is going to be just that as Cloud9 forced to answer towards the top lane. Team SoloMid fans liking the objective pressure that TSM is given right now, and it looks like High could be caught in the mid lane. They catch him sleeping.
And this is exactly what we were talking about. Cloud9 is pushing the bottom lane. They leave an Urgot to stay in the mid lane. He can't clear a wave, so he's just a victim to any skill shots that actually land from TSM. They get another turret. They may get another interior turret. And it is all about the trading right now, but every trade is in the favor of TSM.
Bjergsen plays Urgot a lot himself and fared well against High in the mid lane. 30 CS up as both second tiers are being pushed on either side. Cloud9 is kind of squeezing these, I wouldn't say advantages, but ways to cling back into this game just as TSM gets all of their advantages. Small things towards Cloud9, big steps for TSM.
And specifically because of the style that TSM likes to play, maintaining vision control of the enemy jungle, rushing at people, and getting picks with Bjergsen's Ahri. That's the style they need to do. And with 5 turrets killed from TSM and even 3 from Cloud9, the map is opened up substantially, which leaves many more dangerous corridors to walk down for Cloud9 and only increases the risk of Bjergsen being able to punish them for Ahri. In an ideal game, team comp versus team comp, the turrets aren't being traded if you're Cloud9. They want it to be a condensed game, a smaller game, so the tanks can actually find team fights again and again over knowable objectives. But when the map is this open, it actually favors TSM, which is why they've been so willing to trade these turrets.
Just able to find Cloud9 at any chance. Ward's already on the bottom side, so they know Maokai will be teleporting into this next fight. They could once again zero somebody out before any of that happens. But they're not moving without safety. Always making sure wards are cleared here. Making sure they have the advantage on that side of the map. Dyrus finishes up Athene's quite a bit ago. Trying to be still useful in this game after getting pushed around quite a bit. Good stuff. Still, that first kill onto Bjergsen is something that Santorin focused. Team SoloMid wanted to make sure that High was not a factor, and Bjergsen had an edge.
Santorin traded flashes with High early on in the laning phase.
Right.
They got the return gank before High's flash was up, about 30 seconds before his flash was up. So
that's very
They were
true.
definitely keeping timers on that flash from High in the mid lane. And those are the only deaths of Cloud9 this entire game. They have been trying to avoid the pick potential of TSM, but in doing so have taken some unfavorable trades, which now make it harder and harder to avoid the catching, roaming team of Team SoloMid.
Hit the shot caller and hopefully silence him as well in the process. Towards the top lane, the zap will not make it across, but Vision allows them to know they can go for the Gragas Cask. That's onto Balls now. A little bit too much defense for them to break through those tanks, and quite a few ultimates used by TSM there.
What an awesome matchup of junglers right there. Santorin landing a great ultimate on Balls, but then because Meteos landed his ultimate on Sejuani, he neutralized him. Two good junglers there making some nice plays.
fan zone. Very sunny outside, it seems, enjoying the matchup. A little bit of heat out there as TSM putting the heat on Cloud9. 20 minutes into this matchup, already approaching the last second-tier turret. A little bit of a TP coming in, but that was also seen. Dyrus says, I am right on your heels. Who needs the wild growth? I got speed. I can give it to you. And it looks like they want a bit of the fight. Knowing Lemonation's Glacial Fissure's coming out, they back out. They disengage for a second, and both teams now are kind of creating a line of scrimmage to say, who's next?
They kind of realized they were out of ultimates when that fight started. Neither the Sejuani or the Gragas could add to that one. And Ball's also TP'd in without home guard, so neither team wanting to fully commit to a fight there. And they end up just delaying each other.
A lot of respect. Bottom wave needs to be cleared out here for Cloud9, so this actually works out nicely for them that they can, relieve a little bit of that pressure, start to get some breathing room. Baron is up. We've seen some very, very, very early Barons here throughout the finals, the playout, or rather, through the final games, I should say, of third, fourth place yesterday in the semifinals. Doesn't seem like anybody's too worried about it here. Scuttle Crab averting from Dyrus. Can't get it.
Sneaky farming pretty well. Matching Wild Turtle. CS for CS, but unfortunately Wild Turtle's got that kill on him, so a 300 gold edge. Both these 80 carries, the main damage dealers for their teams throughout the year, if we look at damage dealt to champions as well as kills. Wild Turtle had more kills, deaths, and assists than Sneaky during the regular season. Every category just plays crazy. Yep. Whereas Sneaky had a higher KDA and better CS numbers. Honestly, we're kind of seeing something similar in this match, but as much as we talk about Bjergsen and High, this game is just as much about Sneaky and Wild Turtle. These guys have both stepped up in really big ways this year. Probably the two best 80 carries in North America now, going head-to-head in this classic TSM versus Cloud9 matchup.
Yep. Saw him quite a bit on different 80 carries,
spot.
but now James Silver. What a hit from the ultimate from Meteos! TSM is locked up and now retreating as Cloud9 is trying to get the cavalry to approach on this, and they cannot get through the choke point as TSM made their way out very fast after losing Bjergsen.
TSM is lucky to only lose one player after that initiation. Cloud9 going to try and push down this mid turret as fast as possible because there's a Dragon objective up as well.
They have a very small minion wave, but it doesn't look like it's going to matter. They have enough damage. They should be able to get Dragon here in a very big move. Completely evens out this game. Next few turrets are going to be really big.
The fact that Cloud9 could posture outside of the Dragon with that many missing turrets, they're missing 4 turrets on the Dragon side of the map that is all danger walking through. But that specific corridor is actually where they want to catch a fight. TSM lost a fight in this spot to Gravity during the regular season against an Urgot.
Wow.
4-man Sejuani ultimate. Giant Sivir damage coming in as well. High is not even involved in that fight. I think that's the main reason you only saw 1 casualty, because no one else could be swapped back into the team for additional kills. But it puts Cloud9 back in position in this game, and critically gives them some time to set up defensive wards.
It's just a whole lot of high-level play coming out of that. Cloud9 got the engage they wanted, which they'll probably never get again. Most teams would have completely died in that situation, which TSM didn't actually die. They disengaged. These guys are on point on both sides. Cloud9 somehow needs to find that one more time.
A hole in TSM's vision control. They have a double sight stone and 2 upgraded yellow trinkets. Previously, Cloud9 was the team that did the double yellow trinkets because Meteos would like to put more of his gold into combat items, and they'd get less vision denial, more overall vision. TSM should have more overall vision right now because of the double sight stone.
They had like
and
4
the double
wards
upgraded
on that
trinkets.
spot. 1 ward got them out there.
4 people on this team, aside from Wild Turtle, can keep 3 wards out on a map indefinitely, and they didn't have the wards there for the Cloud9 fight. Just a lapse in vision control there from TSM, costing the Dragon.
Taking their time for right now, that is for sure. The gold is even right across the board with the Dragons. And kills! Thought Santorin was going to be stepping a little too close, but he's able to suck in his gut there and get out of the way of the Winter's Bite from Lemonation. Cloud9 is now, you can see, kind of on the forefront here. They want to start the engages. They're not afraid anymore. The team has grouped in mid, and they're looking for Team SoloMid to make another mistake.
Yeah. Well, what's happened now is Cloud9 has successfully denied a lot of the vision. Good pink wards, good sweeping, 1 upgraded super, 2 normal sweepers for Cloud9. But if we look at where TSM is going, they don't have good vision control. That's why they're having Santorin run in as the tanky Gragas with a Lulu to shield him and try and get these wards. Cloud9 only wants to catch them. It's a big game of give and take here. TSM has already traded the majority of the objectives, so there's not much more trading they can do now that they've lost vision control.
Right. You saw him, Santorin, do it once again there. Almost put them in a scary position. You can see Whimsy and other speed-ups being used, saying, shouldn't be here. Once again, Cloud9 approaches. These guys are just lining up for the fights. Good thing they cannot see Sneaky right now over at red. I'm pretty sure that would be a nice engage for Team SoloMid to hit on. They stave this one off.
The thing is, it's very tricky for TSM to find an initiation without vision control. If they're just walking straight up to Cloud9, they can't really get through the tank lines. They need to pick off one person at a time. What a bold Baron call here by Cloud9. I'd expect them to peel for a fight, but we haven't seen them find fights recently. We'll see here. Do they burn Sivir ult?
Heismer Amana just popped through here. Big boosted damage for Urgot coming into this. Can they get it on the chompers without hitting? Righteous Glory doesn't really get him there. Meteor with a 5-man Sejuani ultimate. If TSM can make it through this, they got it. But Cloud9 is locking them down. Bjergsen on the outside. He gets swapped in with the position reverser. How is TSM still alive in this one? They are doing everything they can, but Cloud9 closes the door on that fight.
A 5-man Sejuani ultimate. Have you ever seen a better Sejuani ultimate in competitive play? He did the ult flash as well to make it point blank and faster. Beautiful initiation there by Cloud9, using their movement speed, catching everyone, and then running them down for the rest of the team fight.
Absolutely incredible plays here coming out of Meteos. Struggling in the top lane to keep balls in the game and then taking control of the mid game by himself there with 2 huge ultimates. One from the blue and now that second one. Let's see it again.
Game-changing plays right there. They walk around the chompers. Watch this. Ooh. Okay, so what he did is he actually flashed Q'd to get in point-blank range and then just hit his ultimate. So he didn't actually instant cast the Sejuani ultimate, but the effect was the same because he was right next to TSM when it landed. The explosion radius stuns 5. At that point, Sneaky was able to get into the brunt of the TSM team without them getting protected. Wild Turtle did not do enough damage, therefore Sivir ran him down, and my goodness, that initiation from Cloud9 was legendary.
Said it earlier, Jat. 2 words. Game-changing. These junglers have game-changing ultimates, and I think we just saw that happen for Meteos.
I can't believe he hit all 5 people. Like, TSM has been disengaging so well this entire game, and Meteos has landed one ult on 4 and another ult on 5. TSM does need to spread out a little bit. I think that's one thing we've learned here. Now with Baron Cloud9 trying to siege, it's going to be tough.
It is going to be very tough for TSM now to reassess how to get back into this one. They still have a bit of vision on their side of the map, but these fights are happening right out in the open. And Cloud9 is using their fright prowess in this tank line to just get the fights done. A huge gold lead now of 4,000 after a neck-and-neck game for the first 25 minutes. Did not think that was going to be the way the game changed, that's for sure. What an incredible way for Cloud9 to start things off here in Game 1.
Down a ton of turrets as well, and it's not over yet because TSM can still catch out individual members of Cloud9, and the only fights they've lost have been off of 4 to 5 people getting caught in the Sejuani ultimate.
I think Meteos saw him there.
Yeah.
He definitely had sight.
TSM has control over this dragon, though, because of poor back timings by Cloud9. They end up getting this 3rd dragon.
I feel like that was to the wayside for Cloud9, but they still have to be careful as that creeps up towards 5. Aspect of the dragon is still something that can close the door right back on you. Cloud9 would not be feeling too good. We have a long series here. We are only in Game 1, and 30 minutes is what we were kind of seeing as a lot of these games end yesterday, back and forth, and these guys are going to take each other to the late game. 3 kills for Sneaky now as he is really becoming a big factor over on the side of Cloud9. Wild Turtle's picked himself up a few as well.
Wild Turtle going for the higher damage build with Phantom Dancer, but Sneaky completing his 3rd item faster. They also catch TSM out of wits, and they push straight down. That's an inhibitor gone, most likely. Wow.
A lot of respect and a little bit out of position for TSM on that play.
Yeah, I think TSM was willing to concede a bottom turret and were just a little bit out of sorts with where they're going to be going.
Yeah.
They actually have a lot of wards sprinkled around the Dragon area / that side of the map, so it is a little bit inexcusable that TSM gives up that turret so uncontestedly. But with that inhibitor down, that is mission successful for Cloud9 with the Baron buff. They can now use that pressure of super minions the next time a major objective comes up, like when the Baron respawns.
See what kind of items everybody's getting in their inventories. Definitely synergizing with the team is kind of the name of the game here. Lockets, Righteous Glory coming out, something that can also complement the champions on your team. It's been the focus as well for both. Lustboy has focused the Mikhails as well to get that position reverser off of whoever High is going to be targeting.
It's also to just stop the Sejuani ultimate.
Yeah, that too.
The one.
Hopefully you're not all 5 in at that time.
Please no.
So we almost have the Zanyas onto Bjergsen as well, kind of just behind on core items that would make these fights a lot easier for themselves. Dyrus had that needlessly large rod, which he kind of passed up the Lucidity boots to get, but has finished those now. Turtle.
Uh-oh.
Put the shell on. This could be bad. This would be great for Balls as well. He needs to get something to get back into this game. He's been benefiting from everybody else. Oh, I'm going to give it to High. Assist money is still good money.
Yeah, this is a situation where TSM couldn't trade something back, so they have clearly lost control of this game. When Wild Turtle was out too far trying to farm that wave. There's a lot that TSM has lost here, all because of Meteos' ultimates. And we kind of knew when Meteos picked this Ahri that for TSM to win this game, he was going to have to win lane, transition that advantage to other lanes, and then use vision control to continually catch off Cloud9. The first thing happened. He won the lane with the Ahri. As far as transitioning to other lanes, not really, because Cloud9 was trading objectives, which would have set up the third play from TSM, which is starve the enemy out of vision control, get picks, use those picks to catapult them into objectives. But as TSM was going for those picks, miraculously, Cloud9 worked around TSM's vision net. Meteos landed several good ultimates, and now the vision net is gone. So in full 5v5 team fights, TSM, unless they play miraculously and Cloud9 misses some big ultimates, TSM is destroyed in those full 5-on-5s. Therefore, they've kind of lost their main win condition and are now relying on Cloud9 to make a mistake.
That early game of Sejuani in the top lane was what TSM worked off of. They dropped all 3 outer turrets immediately. But like you said, no roaming. I think Bjergsen's and the team's focus was to take down High too much. Those 2 kills kept him to the 2nd tier turret, which easily becomes roam, right? After that first tier's down, you get the inner wards, and you're all over the side lanes.
High is down 80 CS to Bjergsen. I mean, we can see that they shut down his Urgot, but without the focus,
oh boy,
they're not dealing with other stuff. TSM scattering this time. No 5-man Sejals today.
The pop on Santorin, that's his flash. Explosive Cast goes out to try and save his life. It's a nice set of chompers from Turtle. The Tsunami as well from Lustboy coming through, and they may be able to just retreat into the base. That would be the best of the situation for them right now. On to Lemon Nation. That's going to be a lot to take him down.
Boy.
Cloud9's not able to get anything out of this as they're kind of floundering around in mid right now.
They were trying to take the minions. Lemon Nation did not get the backup of his team right there. Re-engage.
Going out of Lustboy. That's the blade. Almost a boomerang coming in from Sneaky. One more shot. He is able to get Lustboy. Turtle falls. And Cloud9, they don't back up. They go right through the front door. And the super minion could make this the game for them.
High held on to his position reverser for so long. He waited for Bjergsen to try and make a play. They slowed down Wild Turtle Balls with the reinitiation. That's why they kept the Maokai in the game. Cloud9 takes game 1.
What a swap from a great early game from Team SoloMid to come at 33 minutes. Cloud9 turns the game on its head and takes down TSM for game 1.
11 kills to 4, so a fairly controlled game overall by Cloud9. Really great job by Cloud9. They're fighting back from some early lane deficits. Balls' Maokai heavily denied in the 2v1. The 2v1 was played superiorly by TSM early on. Then the mid lane pressure also goes in the favor of Cloud9. But the team play, team fighting aspects of this team composition and this game went to Cloud9, and that was enough to get them the game 1 victory.
It did not knock them down mentally at all throughout the game. And I was surprised to see that from High. They hit him immediately. He has always had a lot of pressure on him, and he probably knew coming into this game it was going to be even tougher, but he didn't mind being down 30-some
Yeah.
CS, dying twice in the mid lane, and he knew he was focused. Right after his flash was down, he got hit again. So it was going to be rough for him.
One thing we do know, though, is these teams are experienced enough that they're not going to tilt after a few deaths. They know that these games and these series
That's the one thing we
are
mentioned.
very long.
No tilting.
Right? TSM losing game 1 of a series is nothing new. We'll
Right.
see how they adapt for game 2. Looking at this game, though, Meteos was so good. Like, those were
009.
amazing Sejuani ultimates. 1 over the wall, hits 4. But the 5-man that he flash queued in for that completely turned the game around.
Did we actually not even see a good one that game? He literally hit everything at least 2 or 3.
He saved them. I mean, he only used them a couple of times.
Right,
And every
absolutely.
time they hit many people and turned fights completely around. I mean, that's how you do it.
Strong stuff there. We have seen from Team SoloMid when they lost their game with the Urgot pick, they went back to it. So I like that about them. Not afraid. Maybe we'll see this Ahri pickup composition that they had again. Still got a big series to go. Right now, however, Cloud9 getting game 1. We're going to send it out to our analysts to break down Cloud9's victory.
Thank you, Riv, out here after that game 1 pickup there for Cloud9. But where I want to start is actually with TSM, because I want to go with what their game plan was, which looked really solid to start out. They put a lot of focus mid to sway that matchup in the mid lane that a lot of people were saying this series would hinge on.
Yeah, and honestly, TSM did a good job of that. Hey, look, a very early gank, the trio lane of Dyrus and Santorin and Lustboy, they roam mid, they trade flash for flash, they get down to bot lane in time to absorb the wave, like very smart things by these guys. And of course, as the casters mentioned, they come back in time before the flash is back up. First blood on Urgot, push the top lane turret down. And this comp works so well off of snowballing the 2 big TSM members. Bjergsen gets ahead. Wild Turtle gets a strong early game champion who can knock down turrets. And if you siege up on a turret, you have to respect Charm at all times, you have to respect Bubble at all times, and Jinx does all the heavy lifting on turret kills, and all these things work very well for TSM.
Yeah, and you have to keep that Urgot down, too, because it's a quadra-tank composition from Cloud9. They banned out the Janna and went for hard engage, so keeping that Urgot down is imperative, because if that Urgot gets up, he rushes the Frozen Heart, and it keeps Wild Turtle's damage down, too.
Yeah, and what was very interesting, you talk about the bans coming out here. There's actually a couple of points I noticed Lustboy not used to playing Nami in this kind of a matchup, right? Hard engaged team versus disengaged team. The big climactic Baron fight, there was an opening to tidal wave the team and disengage. When they put the chompers down, the team goes around it, they're funneling through a very small choke. That tidal wave stops the team fight guaranteed. But it doesn't come out because he's not used to the matchup. He's not used to having to tidal wave early to disengage. And so, right, the rest of Cena actually gets in on that fight. Like, those are things that are really important where TSM's not ready for this level of pressure on their compositions.
Yeah, continuing down the line of the early game for TSM, too, we have to look at the fact that their pressure in lanes was pretty phenomenal, right?
Yes.
They were taking things off of Dyrus getting camped, which is great. If you're trading 1 death for a turret every time, fantastic. And their wave manipulation was actually pretty phenomenal in the early parts of the game. So takeaways here for TSM, fantastic there. I want to look at how it fell apart, though.
Yes. Stop grouping up against the teamfight comp, because that comp only has Sivir for wave clear and a little bit of Maokai. You have multiple wave clear champions, Gragas, Lulu, Jinx, Ahri, all 4 champions that can like range wave clear very effectively. Split push, don't let that composition group up, because they work best when they group up. If you group up against a quadra tank comp that has a Maokai in it too, he just reduces everybody's damage taken, and it's impossible to knock them down. They just barrel and face roll that team fight. So stop grouping up, keep pushing objectives and forcing things, and they had lapses in vision, and that was the big thing too, is they should have so much vision that they can go between lanes. They lost that vision, and when you lose vision against a hard engage comp, they can camp an objective, and you have to face check them, and they get to force the fight.
But that's the big difficulty here, is even if Bjergsen's off on the side split pushing, obviously it can't be Jinx split pushing, no escapes, right? That's the obvious choice here. Even if Bjergsen's the one split pushing because he's actually got pressure in the lane, problem is you've got 4 tanks. You've got a Sivir and an Urgot and a Maokai and a whole bunch of freaking dive. Like, good luck 4v5ing under turret. You put the Braum shield up and your wave clear's gone. Like, the actual Braum pickup prevents a lot of choices that TSM could have made, because they can no longer wave clear as long as he can survive 3 Jinx rockets, and then you just hard dive them into the turret. Bjergsen can't show up, and if Lulu is the one split pushing on the side, well, C9 put a whole bunch of pressure in getting balls ahead of Dyrus in that top lane. Now that pressure bought TSM 3 turrets. It bought them an extra dragon as well. Like, it almost lost C9 the game, but because they didn't lose the game, and Maokai was doing well, and went Rod of Ages because then he has wave clear and kill pressure in this matchup instead of Righteous Glory for the team fight because they've got Sivir anyway. Like, a lot of these things just click together, and suddenly C9 gets to stifle all the options.
But that's the thing is you don't 4-1, you 1-3-1, or you 2-2-1 and leave the self-sufficient Ahri by herself.
And even still, though, it just becomes difficult. And I'm not saying it's necessarily
difficult.
wrong,
You have to
but
disengage
it's like,
correctly.
can Ahri outrace Sivir when the team fight does happen into your turret? Because the 5v3 will kill your team under the turret and will kill your turret afterwards. And so you have a very short clock to where if before C9 dives, we better get something to happen.
Yeah,
and that
C9 is forced to
difficult to do.
All right, well, things TSM could have done differently. Now let's transition over to Cloud9's side. And you had mentioned the vision play and forcing TSM into a scenario in which they had to come into an objective not knowing, right, what they were walking into, setting up that team fight pretty well. I do want to bring up our first replay, and this is blowing up on Twitter right now. Hashtag LCS big plays here.
Oh, yeah.
26 minutes into the game, ends up being a 4-for-1 plus a Baron. Zyrene, take it away.
They get the vision here, and then they try to disengage, but Meteos, he flashes forward with the Q, and he basically animation cancels his ultimate. You have no reaction time at point blank with that going on. So that's what sets it up. And it hits all 5 members of TSM because they cluster against this team composition. The Righteous Glory is actually popped a little early, and then the Sivir ultimate, it's like, oh, do we want to go? They have to walk around Flame Choppers, and that's where you tidal wave, is across that. But you see, Braum actually doesn't even get to Unbreakable because he gets Q'd. So it would have been a perfect tidal wave disengage that would have allowed them to get out of the Meteos ultimate in time to actually react to this team fight and kite backwards. But at this point in the game, Wild Turtle doesn't have the damage, and the Glacial Fissure comes across him, so he's not able to reposition, and Sneaky just gets free pop shots on him at that point.
Yeah, right. Sivir's actually really good in AoE comps like this. It's very hard to deal a lot of damage as an AD carry like Sivir. I usually call her in cast a low damage AD carry for the utility because your range is low, you're often under threat, kiting's pretty hard on her, she doesn't always run very fast. But if your team has all the offensive tools, Ricochet and Boomerang Blade are 2 of the best AD carry steroids in the game. You're going to do actually more damage than Jinx Rockets will in a fight this grouped up and this safe for Sivir. Sneaky, unsurprisingly, highest damage ult champions in the game in that one because it's a field day for Sivir to kill everyone.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody on your team is a tank, and they're trying to get through that front line to you. And the fact that it's a Braum kind of compensates for the Sivir range disadvantage because he can just absorb and allow her to stand right behind him.
So I have to say, at the end of this game, my big takeaways are that I loved C9's composition. I love the way they built it and the way they intended to play it. What worries me, though, is the fact that they did get behind early. And without that incredible 5-man ult there engaged around the Baron Pit, they may not have been able to get back into it because TSM was starting to pick up steam. We saw them, as you mentioned, rotate in order to put manipulate waves, rotate, take them down quickly, and not allow for the wave clear of Cloud9 to come in because all they have was a Sivir, and unless the Sivir rotates between turrets, they're not going to wave clear at all.
Yeah, but TSM kind of dropped the ball there with vision control in the jungle and having to reestablish it. Bjergsen got picked off once, and it was like, okay, they have to back off, then they have to come back in and try to reestablish vision. But C9 was just camping brush, waiting for them to come in. And that's the kind of thing that you can't stop the momentum on that team. It's very tempo-based, and once you get off beat, you can't get back in it.
Yeah, I wanted to see a bit more from TSM in the first 20 minutes. Yeah. Bjergsen got ahead. He had mid pushed in at all times. And when you have mid pushed in, you can use mid to get vision control, right? He and Santorin can go off. Like, you saw him steal a blue buff early on in the game. You can see him go and ward up the jungle. And they can use this to track Meteos. And they saw Meteos go top lane a lot, and so they pressured bot lane, but they could have pressured bot lane more by tracking Meteos a little bit more here. Crushing the Sivir under her turret, you know, or at least forcing her off sooner. C9 quickly swapped their lanes around. They sent Sivir top lane after a while, but using the Ahri a bit more in the early parts of the game, make a couple more plays, and then C9 can't get into the rotation game.
Cloud9 definitely out for blood here in the first game. They want their title back. We are only just warming up, though. When we come back, Cloud9 and TSM will return to the stage for Game 2 of our championship finals. And as we head to break, we're going to be looking back at the championship battles of yesteryear. We start with the first meeting of these two teams in 2013 Summer Split Finals.
Completely undefeated in the series, 25-3 on the split.
Cloud9 does not drop a single game in the playoffs, and look at that. They are a team that works together and likes each other. That is the best team in North America.